Hi, this is Ken from Rocket Family KML. Today we're going to show you how to make your own homemade igniters for your motors. This you can use to supplement the new solar igniters by dipping them into this also in the tan tip or the beige tip igniters so that they flare up a little bit better. What you're going to need is acetone, nitrocellulose ping pong balls. They have to be nitrocellulose. You're going to need acetone, ping pong balls, a wide mouth mason jar, and then your wire. You're going to need 2 sets of wires. And one place you can get your thin wires, if you don't have nichrome available, is from your busted up cell phone charging cord or USB cord. You can get the wire you need from that. Don't use a good one, use a busted up one. If you are not 18 or old enough to play around with purchase gunpowder, don't do this. If you're not sure of yourself, don't do this. Remember, this is 2 flammable items. You've got acetone, which is highly flammable, and gunpowder, which is highly flammable, and the 2 of them combined together, you can make one heck of a boo-boo and hurt yourself. So don't do this if you shouldn't be doing it. By all means, I am not responsible for people being foolish. Don't do it with open flames. Don't do it with a heat source nearby. Don't smoke when you're doing it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your ping pong ball, or 2 of them if you want, flatten it down a little bit so you can cut it up with scissors. Cut it up into small pieces, put it in the mason jar, pour acetone over the top of it, just enough to cover it. Let it sit for a day or 2 so that it melts the ping pong ball in the acetone. Obviously you want to put the lid on tight. Stir it up, look for smoothness. No chunks, no clumps. You want it nice and smooth. If you need to thin it out a little bit, because you're adding gunpowder now, you're going to have to thin it out a little bit, possibly. Add a little more acetone, stir it really well, get it thinned out. Once you're done, you're going to add gunpowder, 4F, FFG gunpowder, and you're going to add in twice as much gunpowder as you have of ping pong ball slurry. This is a little thick here. You can see how thick that is. You'll stir it up really, really good. If you need to thin it out, like this stuff has been sitting, you thin it out with just a little bit more acetone. Be sure you store this in a place where you don't have to worry about it getting super hot. A little bit goes a long way. And causing a possible fire hazard or anything like that. Stir it up a little bit here. And the idea is that this is going to coat your igniters. Again, you can use this to supplement the new Estes solar igniters that have the tan or the beige tip, that have a high failure rate. If you feel that it's a bad igniter because of the product, you can enhance it by dipping it into this, and this will help increase your ignition. Okay, this is still kind of thick, but for the purpose I'm using it for today, we'll leave it at this thickness. I'm going to re-lit it up. Remember, your wipe sticks and stuff, put them somewhere safe where you're not going to have a problem with sudden ignition. I've actually taken and dropped them in water so that they won't have a problem. I'm using 22.4 for the 22 gauge wire for the demonstration purposes. You can get your wire from old igniters. So you're at a launch, you see the long yellow wires, grab them up. You can use those to make your own igniter. We get into the Wi-Fi cord or the USB cord or your charging cord for your phone, and you find little strands of wire with the shield. When you strip that off, you're going to find little bundles. It's going to be very hard to see this, but you're going to find little bundles of wire inside. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this wire. We're going to pull one wire out of that bundle to make our igniter. First thing I do if I'm using 2 separate wires is I'm going to twist them together. If you're using a long wire that's already together, you're going to split the top, peel one down a little bit, and then chop it off so it's shorter than the other wire. You want them offset, one shorter than the other. Since I'm using this for demonstration, it's easier to handle and easier for you to see than the small igniter wires that I normally use. I'm going to do it this way. We'll twist it together, and we'll act like I've just peeled back the one wire down and cut it short. Now we're going to strip the ends. And there's 100 different ways to do this. Strip the end down here on the bottom. Okay, Now we're going to finish the coil all the way up to the top of the wire. Okay, so now we've got the wire all the way up. Again, this part you'll see 1,000 different ways to do it. No one way is the right way. Do what works for you. Now what I like to do is I like to take the wire, pull it down, and kind of get it snagged in that little notch that I made there with the first wire. So we're snagged in there. I'm going to wrap it around the one wire a few times to get good contact. Now I'm going to skip going over that end because that end will bust my thin wire. I'm going to wrap it around, not crossing over itself, all the way up to the top, and then do a bunch of wraps at the very top. What's neat about this wire is it will hold its shape there when you're done. If you want to just spin it all the way, you can. If not, get a pair of fine scissors. Then you're going to chop the excess off the bottom and off the top. Again, 1,000 ways to do this. This is the way I do it. Okay, now I'm going to take my slurry and I'm going to dip it. So I'm going to dip it in there and get it coated. And you can dip it multiple times. That first coat might look pretty thin. You might be able to get it to blob on. Depends on what type of rocket motor you're igniting. How big of a hole do you have to insert your igniter into? And then you're just going to set it off to the side and you're going to let it dry. Now, I made a couple the other day, one for demonstration purposes. And something you do need to do when you first twist them together and you wrap that wire on the top, and I forgot to tell you this step, is you need to take a voltmeter. You're going to do a continuity test. So you're going to take, before you wrap the pyrogen and everything on top, you wrap your wire, and before you dip it, just check to make sure you have continuity. That way you don't wrap a igniter up and lo and behold it doesn't work because you don't have continuity. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take one of these out there, outside obviously where it's safe, and I'm going to ignite one or two of them off just to show you how well these actually do work. Alright, we're getting ready to test now, and you can see I made a test rig for using it indoors because it's right outside and you wouldn't be able to see it actually go off. Long stick with the igniter tied to the top. I've cleared all flammables from the immediate area. All solvents and fumes have been vented from the building. And again, if you test this away from you. I've got it on a nice stick so I don't get hurt. And we're testing is 3, 2, 1. And you can see a nice little puff there. And add more pyrogen to the tip and you get a lot bigger of a result from it. So that's making your homemade igniters. Remember, be smart about it. You are dealing with flammables and explosives. Do not do this if you are underage. By all means, be intelligent. Dad will probably help you or something like that, but let's be safe about this. Let's continue to use a safe hobby. This is great for supplementing your solar igniters if you need to or anything like that.